welcome back one and all to episode 1, basically, we'll go with 1, of the new Kerbal realistic space program called Space is Hard Vacuum. Now with 100% more clever titling, thanks to Nathan Kell, who, aside from providing or contributing to most of the core mods that are being used in this KSP install, he also suggested the title. So, props again to him for that. And moving right along, I'm not going to show you the tech tree, at least not at first. I've already shown that to you 3 times. Let's get straight into the VAB, shall we? Okay, into the VAB. And we are going to build ourselves a sounding rocket, because that's about all we can do yet, even with all of those free nodes at the bottom of the tech tree unlocked. Because that's how it's supposed to be. You need to, we've got to do some science in the atmosphere before we can really do anything else. So, let's see what we can do here. We can use, to go with the WAC Corporal Science Probe, Experiment Probe, we can mate it up to the WAC Corporal Sustainer Engine. We'll go with that. But first we'll need a fuel tank. And we will use one of these wonderful stretchy tanks like this. Not that big, of course. We're going to make it smaller. Make it that small. But we're going to make it longer. So that, in basic terms, is going to be our rocket, at least the first time round. This engine runs on amines and nitric acid, and as it is right now, it's going to give us 3,007 meters per second of delta V. Launch thrust weight ratio 1.31 actually isn't bad. This might be pretty close to how big I'm going to make it. See how much worse the TWR gets if I make the tank a little longer. We'll go up to 4 meters. Come on, there we go. We'll redo the tank just in case. I don't think it's usually going to make a big difference. I think it recalculates it okay most of the time. I haven't run into any problems yet. We'll give it that texture. Why not? Throw on some end pieces. We'll use some P-wings, procedural wings, as little tail fins for this thing. Line them up, just like that. And don't worry, we're not going to make them that big, or that slab-sided, or that thick. First, we're actually going to decrease the root, or the tip thickness. Yeah, we'll go right down to 0.1. And then the root thickness will make 0.36, as low as we can without being 0.1. Okay, and then decrease the root width and the tip width a little more. Bring those down toward the bottom again. Mess with the size of them a little bit. I'm not very good at messing around with these procedural wings just yet. They're I don't know if I want to call them finicky. I think they're maybe finicky when you're in the assembly building here, as opposed to the spaceplane hangar. Or maybe I just kind of suck at controlling them, manipulating the size of them. But whatever, we've got 4 little tail fins there. I'm sure that'll be fine. One small issue, though, is that our thrust-to-weight ratio is low to launch. The thing is, with this thing, we don't have any real attitude control at all. The best thing we can hope for, there's no reaction wheels in that nose cone. It's got mech-jet, but it has no actual control over where it's going to go. I don't think the engine can gimbal either. No, there's no gimbal on the engine. So this thing, basically, once we launch it, it's just going to fly where it wants to fly. And with that low of a thrust-to-weight ratio, it's probably going to want to, its trajectory is going to want to fall naturally quite quickly. So we'll shorten that up, get the launch thrust-to-weight, we'll go to 1.3 at launch, which of course means we won't get as high, probably. Well, actually we might get higher, because the rocket's going to stay kind of upright, or it's not going to, its trajectory isn't going to dip as fast. It's going to burn for approximately 1 minute and 32 seconds. And how about we do... Oh, that's going to roll it there. We can... Just had a random idea to try launching it at that angle. Because I think... Oh, we don't need that many. Let's go with 1. Launch clamp to keep it steady up there. Maybe bring it down a little closer to the ground. Okay. So I think once we launch that, it'll end up pointing east. Which means it'll land in the ocean, which is good, because we really don't want it landing on land. Not that it's really going to make a difference, but, you know, we might as well play along. And, well, hey, simple enough. I think we'll call that a good first build. What are we going to call this thing? I haven't thought of that. Let's do a nifty, clever acronym. High atmosphere research probe. HARP. Yes, it's going to be the HARP. Mark 1. I like it. Let's see how it flies. Okay. Here it is. It is pointing east-ish, which is good. It has no attitude control whatsoever. I'm not even sure if throttling the engine is going to matter. I didn't really check to see, I didn't look closely to see if it had a minimum throttle setting, but I'm going to assume it's 100%. Most early engines in this tech tree are not throttleable. So without further ado, let us fire away. See where it ends up. Yeah, look, it's tipping over right now. It's just going to land right next to the launch pad. It's not going to go anywhere. Not even going to make it to the shore. We can cut the throttle. Oh, we can't reignite it. It ignites once. And... crash. Alright. We will... Well... let's go back to the Space Center. We'll just consider it a failed launch, but we won't revert. Rather than reverting and winding the time back, we'll call that time well wasted. Well spent. A learning experience. Yeah, we're not going to want that to tip over quite that quickly. Alright, back to the assembly building. And... that didn't really want to seem to work. Well, we can stick a clamp on this side. Maybe with just the one clamp it'll sort of... I don't know which direction it's going to tilt in. Let's find out. We'll see if that sort of makes it wobble on launch. Okay, let's try this again here, and well, we'll throttle it, just for fun, for good practice, I guess. The only thing worse than remembering to throttle an engine that you don't have to is forgetting to throttle an engine that you do have to. So let's fire this up. I think the decoupling force of the clamp kind of pushed it a bit, but it doesn't really seem to have knocked it off track. We'll see which way it leans. I think it's going to lean west, which is kind of the opposite of where I wanted to go. I found doing some test launches that, whether through chance or whatever else, my rockets tend to lean south, and that's more or less exactly what this one is doing. It's a little southwest, but they tend to tilt south. So, we'll see where this one goes, and if hopefully it gets high enough at least. And, well, you know, maybe if we're lucky it'll land in a lake or something, and it won't land on some poor, unsuspecting Kerbal or Kerbal livestock or something like that. Not that I have those. I don't have, like, stuff actually on the land. There's trees, but the game just generates those. People have talked about adding in cities and that kind of stuff, and I don't really have any of that. I just would have liked to fire my test rockets into the ocean, since there's a great big, plenty good ocean right there for everything to fall into. Because that's kind of what they preferred to do in real life as well. It was, if they could launch a rocket and have it land in the water, that was much better than having it land on land, because there was a much lower chance of there being anyone or anything in the way on the water. There's the rocket burnt out. We are in the upper atmosphere now, so we'll activate the data recorder, because we would not have been able to until we got into the upper atmosphere. And once we have 100 data, then I will take some atmospheric readings. The radiation readings, unfortunately, are only able to be done in kind of low suborbital space. You don't have to be in orbit, but you do have to be out of the atmosphere. So that'll be the next stop, we hope. And we're going to get bumper 1 atmospheric readings from Kerbin's upper atmosphere. And the analysis is complete. Very informative, but not very creative or entertaining. Very bare bones message there, but that's fine. Well, because it's 100 science, I'm not going to complain about 100 science. The message could have been blank for all I care. It's 100 science. And it's slowly but surely transmitting. 65%. I already did get 40 science there, and now we've got another 35.3. Okay. Well, let's keep the data recorder running, because I feel like we could have gotten more science out of that. That was only about 75. So, yeah, I think, 18,000. So we've got a while before we drop to 18,000. We just need to get 100 more data, which we'll have right quick like here. There it is. Do atmospheric readings again. 24.1. So we'll transmit that. Hopefully before things start exploding. We're already getting into pretty, well, high-ish. We're about to get into really high dynamic pressures here as we get down into the real thick of the atmosphere at a real high speed. Orbital speed 923. Surface speed is almost the same. We're falling at over 0.5 kilometers per second. We've got the high dynamic pressure warning. We got some more science out of that. I didn't really add it up there behind my delta V stats window. I didn't check to see if it was about 24. When this thing crash lands, actually we'll probably see it break apart here. One thing Ferrum Aerospace has now is in high dynamic pressure situations, you can overpressure and things will break. Will we hit that? Now we're slowing down. I think we've hit max Q, max dynamic pressure, so no, things won't break up in midair by the looks of it, but it's all going to break up very explosively when it hits the ground here in only a few more seconds. Apparently 3. Well, it's slowing down, so the time to impact is slowing down as well. And right about now. Boy, did I call that or what? There's our catastrophic failure, but it's not a catastrophic failure because we got some science. Maybe 100 even. Let's check. Well, we didn't get any science for recovering a vessel that had made a flight because there was no vessel left to recover. So let's hop into the science center here. We got 93 science. Now, a little odd that we didn't get all of the science that it said we would, because it did say we were going to get 100 on the first transmission, and it gave us, 74, 75 or something. But either way, we had time to do a second transmission. We had lots of power, lots of altitude, And we managed to get almost 100 science out of the whole mission, so, you know, that's not so bad. I'll take that. Maybe there's a tweak that needs to be made to the science configuration or something, because it only gave us about 3/4 of what it said it would. But that doesn't matter. We had no science, now we have some science, and any science is good science. What do we do with our 93 science? Well, we can research early comms, which, you know, I don't really think we need to do, because we have some comms. We've got a few antennas there. Like, that one's quite useful. This one is also quite useful. 4,000 kilometer range on that, so we're fine there for now. I'm thinking we can probably just, we could do some bigger rocket engines. Basic rocketry there. We could solid boosters, early control systems, or, you know what we should do? Staging. We should see if they have any teeny weeny decouplers there or something. Stack chutes are nice. Yeah, some little 0.5 meter decouplers, and that way maybe we could do a little two-stage sounding rocket if we need to get suborbital rather than simply atmospheric. 83 science left. Well, we'll take some fairings and adapters for 10. Will we take some early engineering for 10? Do we need it? Docking ports and stuff? Nah, we're a ways away from that. Fast launch towers would be nice, but for the time being, the stock launch clamp will be fine, I think. 73 science. Okay, so I can't get control systems and basic rocketry. Sputnik 1 and 2. 50 science, we could do that. But we've got more science yet to get with that WAC corporal experiments. 50 science there. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, the approach I'm going to take is I can still do stuff with the parts that I have. So I'm not going to research anything else yet. Alright, here we are back with the HARP Mark 1 after one successful launch and an unfortunate land crashing. We are back in the VAB. Going to see if we can maybe get ourselves a Mark II out of this. Perhaps even we can go suborbital. So let's pull those off of there. Got little decouplers. How big are they compared to... Ooh, they're sizable. I think maybe we could do a couple of little boosters on here. That would be fun. However, we won't worry about that. We will simply go to a bigger engine. And for that, we're going to need a conic fuel tank. That one right there, which we're going to make smaller. Start that one off at 0.3. And we're going to bring it up to 0.5. Just like that. Or, actually, you know what we could do? Now that I've deleted that cylindrical tank that I had, we'll just get another one. Not a big deal. Go back to 0.3. 0.3. Two meters long. And, you know, we'll grab another one of these, which we threw out. Stick it back on there. Still tech level 0, that's fine. But the specific impulse is way better up high than it is down low on this thing. So, mind you, that might be the case for anything we have access to at this point. But, you know, just because we can, let's throw a little decoupler on there. Sort of. Ah, whatever. We'll live with it. And then here, toss on another cylindrical tank. Make it 0.5 meters. I don't think we have any fairings yet to speak of. Oh, we do. Now, whatever. If we run into serious aerodynamic problems, which we might, I'm fully prepared for that. That'll actually be kind of funny. Hopefully. We'll put these on here. 4 of them. And we'll stick one of these 0.5 meter engines on here. Like, LR32 maybe? A4. The German A4 as per Nathan Kell's Reaching for the Stars alternate history, which I'm using the parts for, but not really the alternate history for. Set that one back up for the amines and nitric acid. And we'll set this one up for alcohol and liquid oxygen. Ooh, look at that thrust to weight ratio. Let's make that a little bigger. We can make that a bunch bigger. Look how tall this thing is now. We'll go 5.75 meters on that tank. We'll make this one a little bigger too. That's a hell of a sounding rocket. But sometimes you've just got to go big or go home. Even if sometimes going big is a little bit ridiculous. Adjust those a little bit there. Move them up a little. There we go. Why the hell not, right? Oh, we don't want to copy that whole thing. Copy some of those. Slap them onto that one. Make these ones a little smaller again, though, I think. There we go. We'll use those. Stick those right there. Mess with the textures a little bit. We'll go with that texture for that one again. And what will we throw onto this one? No. Maybe. Nah. There we go. Yeah, we'll use that. We'll go with that one. Why not? For this, we will use, we still don't need 4, well, we'll slap 2 launch clamps on that one. And we'll run with the default alcohol configuration. We could do kerosene liquid oxygen, which would perform a little better, but we'll, even if we're building a ridiculous 2-stage sounding rocket, we can at least try to stay a little bit honest with the rocket performance itself. Before they really got into using kerosene and liquid oxygen, they were using alcohol. So we'll stick to alcohol for a bit. We'll call this the Mark II. And if it gets suborbital, fantastic. If it blows up in flight, that's fantastic too, because we still learned something. And just because this is a realistic Kerbal Space Program adventure, well, the key phrase in that statement is Kerbal Space Program, which means sometimes you've got to have something explode. ready to go. Throttle this one up too. 1 out of 1 ignitions. Make sure that the right engine is going to fire first, and then the upper one is going to fire after decoupling, and away we go. That's that's a pretty good thrust to weight ratio on launch. We're really getting somewhere with this one. We'll see. Hopefully it'll tilt over naturally as well, so it'll land somewhere other than directly back on the Space Center. Oh, we're getting a tiny little bit of pitch now, and again it's kind of going southwest. What is that? Oh, is that where... Oh, that's where the first one landed. The one that was tilted over and just barely made it past the end of the runway, the first attempt. And we've got high dynamic pressure. We're heating up a little. But we're not... The pressure isn't climbing too quickly. This decoupler is not making a lot of drag. We will be okay. 23 seconds left on the lower stage, and we're apoapsis is already just passing where the HARP Mark 1 ever got to. Yeah, the thrust to weight ratio is real good and high now. We're accelerating at over 4G. Just getting near the end of the launch stage, and there's a little bit of, I guess, de-entry effects going on there. Let's activate that data recorder. There we go. We will decouple. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait a little while until this thing gets up a little bit higher and hopefully turns over a little bit. Wait for the pitch to fall a little. And we don't need to do atmospheric reading because we've got basically all the science we're ever going to get from that. So we will bring the time warp up to 2 as we climb. I would like to get this... I mean, if I just fire the rocket now, then yes, I'll definitely get this thing suborbital. We're almost there now. I just want to wait for this thing to maybe dip down a little more. We're probably not going to get it, though. See that there? It says in space low, but I did a bit of testing, and we're not going to be in space low as far as the experiment is concerned until we're actually out of the atmosphere, which we will get to at 180 kilometers. I'm just going to fire the rocket up now. Or no, I'm not. Oh, yes, that's right. I should have thought of that. I should have fired the rocket right away, because the fuel is now kind of floating around in that tank. It's gotten all sorts of unstable in there, and so it just didn't work. And so... oh, we got a full data load. That's not going to do us any good, because that's gonna be, if that ever comes stable again, it'll be at the wrong time. Stopping the time warp a little bit again here. Yeah, now we're just falling vertically the wrong way. Okay, well, we're not going to get anything out of this one other than another spectacular crash. So, we'll just go back to the Space Center. Oh, I'm in a flight and I can't do that. Okay, well, we'll up the time warp again and we'll watch it crash. Why not? I did just say that every now and then something has to explode. So, we're going to watch something explode. Bring the time warp down. Oh, re-entry effects. It's getting aerodynamic failure. Yeah, everything's going to start coming apart here. Something already has. I think the tank, yeah, that all just broke away from the probe core. Since this thing is kind of bullet-shaped, it falls very, very well. Poof. All right. Well, back to the Space Center. That was mighty silly of me. Normally I do think of that with that this engine igniter mod that I have, where fuel flow is fuel stability is key. You've got to have the fuel at the bottom of your tank where your rocket is, basically. And when you're kind of free floating like that rocket was, it all goes bad. It all goes horribly wrong, and you end up with what happened, with a completely unusable second stage. So let's try this lean it over thing again, because the thrust to weight ratio on launch is way better this time. Much more so than it was with the first attempt with the HARP Mark 1. So we'll try that. I kind of wish I could do just a little bit less of a tilt. And you know, I'm sure I could. I'm sure there's a mod for it. And I'm sure that as soon as someone tells me after I release this video, I'm going to go get it. But for right now, as I do this, I don't have that. It'll do, I think, 5-degree increments, I think is what that is. With the fine controls in the stock game. Yeah, on an 85-degree angle. And we're going to fire it up. And it tilts away pretty quick again here. And the tilt doesn't slow down quickly enough. I don't think. We're coming down past 40 degrees. Now we're way too shallow. We're going to end up blowing parts off of this rocket. Oh yeah, so now it levels off. It's almost levels off at a good old 5-degree climb. Yeah, we're going to get out into the ocean. We're sure as heck not going to get suborbital. Ooh, yeah, stuff's going to start breaking apart here soon. Dynamic pressure is quite high. 500 degrees on the nose of this thing. Well, maybe it won't break apart till it hits the water. At, oh, I don't know, 500 meters per second. Okay. Alright. So, we're just going to do this the good old-fashioned vertical way. And, we'll try some good old-fashioned editor modding, maybe for the next time around. Okay. Now we'll just do what I should have done in the first place, which is we're just going to launch the thing. It's going to go where it's going to go, and we're going to get some science. Nice, almost vertical ascent, and then yeah, I think it's going southwest again. But that's okay. We can always just we'll just set up a whole test range area for, I don't know, about 100 miles down in that direction. And all our rockets will go that way until we develop some proper attitude control. And yeah, it won't matter. We won't let anybody into that space anyways. Buy up all the land, and everyone will be safe. High dynamic pressure. High isn't always necessarily bad, as long as it doesn't get too high. As we saw there, that this vehicle is capable, at least as long as it's flying properly along its trajectory with a 0 or low angle of attack and 0 or little side slip, it can handle about 250,000 pascals of dynamic pressure, so we're well below that, and it's not going to get that high again until we, well, come back in. There we go. While we still have stable fuel flow, we will get this thing out into orbit. And we might as well just burn up all the fuel and send it way out there. Apoapsis is now outside the atmosphere, so we are going to have some time to record some data. But we might as well just use up the fuel we came here with, give ourselves a little more time outside the atmosphere to make sure we get that data recorded. And hopefully we have enough time to do that while we have a connection, because this thing has a range of 200 kilometers, I think, on its onboard antenna. Well, we're going to get good and high. I just hope it'll keep recording data even while it's out of connection range. So I have no idea. I haven't tested that. We're actually going to be just about out of the atmosphere once this one's out of fuel. 180. Activate the recorder. We're very quickly coming up on 200. Should be already out of range, honestly. Unless something else has, maybe it has a hidden antenna with more range. It says it has an omnidirectional range of 200 kilometers. I mean, we're 269,000 meters high, let alone any kind of extra distance from us being a little bit off to the side from the space station, or the spaceport. But, hey, whatever. As long as it keeps recording data, I don't really care if it has connection, as long as I can get connection back and transmit the data before the thing blows up on re-entry. Because I'm pretty sure it's going to blow up on re-entry this time. God, we really... 573 kilometers. It's gonna be a while. Well, whatever the actual range of this antenna is, I'm hoping we don't surpass it. We might as well just get all our 500 data now. I think it is going to take 500 data. We're going to need a whole tank full of data to do the radiation readings. Hopefully we can transmit those back as well. Coming up on having 500. It'll stop automatically. There we go. Now we will do radiation readings. 200 science. Yeah, it's letting us transmit. Okay, I'll take it. Now with it, we'll try and record some more data here too. Because if this does the same as the atmosphere readings did, we're not going to get all 200 of that science on the first go around. Well, there's 172 plus 0.2. Okay. 172.2. We'll see if we can get the rest of it. And, well, we're just coming up on 2.5 times the range on paper of this antenna. I know I don't have anything in orbit yet because this is the first thing I've launched. We're coming up. Well, no, we're not really coming up on apoapsis yet, are we? So I don't think we've got enough. Well, we certainly don't have enough electric charge to transmit the data. Yeah, we need 500. I think, yeah, we're going to run out of electric charge before we get the 500 data. And then it won't matter. Insufficient power. Okay, I guess it stops. We get 425, which isn't enough. Oh well, we got the rest of it. Well, we got most of it, 172 or whatever. So we'll throttle the ship down. We'll do some time warp. Times 100, coming down real fast. Throttles back to 1 automatically because we're now back in the atmosphere. Falling at a surface speed of 2,700 meters per second. Vertically, we're more than 2,700 meters per second. Coming down over kind of the other side of Florida from where we started off. We're going to see some pretty serious... I wouldn't be surprised if this whole thing just blows up in midair from the aerodynamic stress. We're going to find out. Yeah, it's climbing. See that Q there in the FAR flight data is going to start skyrocketing here as we fall backwards into the atmosphere. 3 kilometers per second, there we go. We'll either burn up 600, 800, more than way over 15 G, all sorts of G. Oh, there we go. That's that. But we're okay with it burning up. Because that means it won't land on somebody's head. You know, I have 249 science because we had some saved up from the last time. So now we can definitely, we're going to get basic rocketry, which will give us, you know, some more engines and some more stuff. Stuff is good. We like stuff. Grab that. And we'll grab the basic solid rocket boosters. And we'll grab the control systems. And we'll grab the early engineering. And we'll grab supersonic flight. Now we can actually have some fins that will have a little bit of, you know, they're actually winglets. They've got control surfaces on them. And we'll have all sorts of things in here with a little bit of attitude control built in, which will be nice. It's the next node there, high altitude flight. We won't worry about that yet, because I don't think we're not going to be doing space planes anytime soon. We won't worry about the stock science instruments yet, because we seem to be plenty capable of getting more science at this point. There still is this this other probe, wherever that was. The Don't Stay Putnik. I don't know if it's actually got a science experiment of some sort, like this WAC Corporal did. We're going to find that out probably in the next episode. So with that, well, we'll jump in here. Let's hire the smartest Kerbal, and we'll call that a day. And in the next episode, we'll who knows? Maybe we'll try getting something into a little less crazy of a suborbital flight path, and see what other science awaits us on the on some new science probes that we've unlocked. Today's episode has been brought to you by the number 5, and the word of the day is ullage. Until next time, I'm Cerberus. Happy Kerbeling!